Hey guys, this is Lucas Johnson and I'm going to be doing a video on how to assemble and play bass clarinet for beginners. I plan on doing the standard B-flat soprano clarinet, contralto, contrabass clarinet, and the alto clarinet as part of this series as well. Those will be coming fairly soon. So let's get right into it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video and comment any questions. So some bass clarinet cases, to start, they open with a latch. Some of them, this one happens to be a zipper. So of course open the case and you have all of your parts inside of here. So I will start by saying if you have a one-piece bass clarinet, the whole body will be in a single piece. My bass clarinet has two body pieces, one here and one here. So you can totally disregard this step if you have a single piece body. First step is you're going to take the two body joints and put them together. And of course, before assembling any joints on an instrument, you want to make sure that they're well greased with cork grease. How you simply do that is take the grease and you put it on the cork. So when assembling this piece, just gonna push it together until they're firmly in place. And for my bass clarinet, these two pieces have to line up. There's one here and one under this key. So again, bass clarinets have very weak keys and you're going to want to be fairly careful when putting those two joints together. And a very safe place to grab is putting your finger on the actual keys when forcing together. So if you have a single piece body, forget about this step. So the second step that you're going to want to do is I'm going to put the body down for just a second. Be careful not to drop it. You're going to have your bell right here. You're going to unscrew the floor peg mount. Sometimes they're on the body of the bass clarinet, but that's fairly uncommon. So you're going to take your peg and insert that right there. Just like so. Most pegs are longer than this, but then you're just going to tighten it to where it won't move around when it has pressure. So what you're going to want to do next is take your body and very carefully insert into the bell. And most bass clarinets, you're going to have a key right here on the bottom of the bell. And you'll have a key right here that has to line up with that. So you have to line it to where that key will properly function when the bell is inserted on the body. So now you're just going to simply place your bass clarinet on the ground. You have a peg ready to go and everything. So that should all just go right on the ground and you don't have to worry about scratching anything. I'm going to move this up a little bit for this next step. So what you're going to want to do next is you're going to take your neck, which looks like this. If you have a double register key bass clarinet, it will have a register key. Most of them do not have it. This is the register key right here. So what you're going to do is make sure that this cork is very well greased up. And if you have a double register key bass, this joint, a lot of them have tuning slides, which is that little space right in between here has an adjustment screw. These tuning slides are fairly weakly soldered. And so you want to be very careful when attaching the neck, especially on a bass clarinet with a tuning slide. So best way to do it is directly just to place the bell and get it seated, or not the bell, the neck. Get it nicely seated and then apply pressure on the top of the neck and not right in the bow. You want to apply it directly on top and do kind of a swiveling motion of direct pressure, and then you have it on. If you have a double register key bass, you may have to play around a little bit and see what works to getting the register keys perfectly lined up. Mine are great. And it all has to do with the position of where the neck is. So the next step is going to be the mouthpiece. So take the cap off, I'll put that over here. So we have just the mouthpiece right here. So what you're going to do is cup your hand around the back of this bend in the neck. Cup your hand around and apply pressure with the back of your hand, because this is a weak solder like I mentioned right here. So you don't want to just be jamming the mouthpiece in. You want to make it a firm pressure with a little bit of twist, and you're on. And make sure that this is well greased as well with cork grease. So next step is grab a reed. And what you always want to do, you will not be able to play your instrument well with a dry reed. So you're just going to let it soak in your mouth or a cup of water or whatever you have. And while I'm doing that, I'll get out my neck strap. So just give it some time till you think it's well soaked. Normally I'd let it soak a little longer. So your next step, what you're going to do, you're going to place your reed on the mouthpiece and align it right to where they're about equal on the tip, to the tip of the reed and the tip of the mouthpiece, and kind of feel it to where they're equal. And then you want to line it up just right, and you can adjust this later. Most people have to. So I have my ligature here. Most ligatures are metal, but I happen to have a leather one. A lot of people use these. They're made by Rovner. And that just slips right on, just as a metal ligature would. Just apply a little bit of pressure. Unlock the screw, of course. Loosen it to where it will slide on there freely, and then tighten the screw. Till you don't want it too tight, but you just want it kind of finger tight. And you're set up. So let me zip up this so we can put it on the ground. So what we're going to do from here is, I recommend definitely playing with a neck strap. A floor peg like I have on the end of the bell is not absolutely necessary, but it is a very nice feature to have, which most bass clarinets do have. So neck strap's going on, and like I said, you want to make sure that your reed is nice and wet, or else you will not be able to make a sound. So if you're moving from, say, B-flat clarinet to bass clarinet, you're going to, two things you're going to need to think about is tightening up your throat and making it, you want it really tight, just like you would on B-flat clarinet, but you need to open it just a little bit. You want to have a more open throat, and you're going to play more from your gut, from way down in here, not just from, you're going to, so you're going to need a lot of air, and that's what you need to prepare for, is getting lots of air. And what takes a little bit of time to learn is getting really good air support. And what I mean by that is, when you take a deep breath, you need to have lots of air pressure going through to where it stays consistent. So you don't want to go, you want to go and keep that consistent flow going. And that's what good air support is just having a really good, strong, consistent flow of air. So looks like all of my register keys are good. So first note you probably want to start out is no fingers at all, just playing an open G. And that first note usually takes a little bit of time, and you're going to be squeaking a lot. And what most people do is they think, oh, bass clarinet, I don't need to pinch. Depending on the reed that you use, you still need to pinch quite a bit. So it's definitely less than B-flat clarinet. But so then when you actually want to play a few notes, when you get into the low notes, it's a lot less like saxophone. If you play saxophone, like baritone sax, you have to really loosen up your embouchure on those low notes. Bass clarinet, you do a little bit, but it's it's more opening up your throat than it is your lips. And that's the same with going into high notes. It's not as much lip work as it is your throats and your voicing for the notes. So just a really simple way to start on bass clarinet is to look up some warm-up sheet music and playing simple B-flat scales until you can recognize what notes are what and be able to play them successfully every time that they come up. So that would be my advice for starting. And then when you get into actually playing music, if you're in a band or something, you're going to want to basically just practice it till you can play it. If it's an easy piece that you got down, don't really need to practice it as much unless you want to. But if it's a hard piece that you just cannot get and you think, oh, this piece is way too hard for me, got to keep practicing. That's all there is to it. So as for bass clarinet, your open B flat, concert B flat, it's a C on this instrument. So just C is going to be this back key right here. It's called the octave key. You're going to press that. You're going to press this front key and make sure that you cover, there's a tiny hole, cover that hole. Then your finger goes right here, then here, and then that will make a C. So that you can keep going down, and then that would be a B natural, and then an A, and then G, which is this finger. Right here is a G, and then an F is this finger right here, or you can play it right there. And then for an E, it's this key. And sorry if this is a little confusing, but my bass clarinet has some extra keys. A lot of bass clarinets don't have this key or this key right here. So those are all just things to think about, but the keys should be in the same position. So one thing that you can work on is playing like a chord. And so, for instance, something like this. And then if you have a low C bass, so those are all things that you can practice, and basically that's all it takes to begin to figure out the bass clarinet or any other instrument, is just practice. The more that you practice it, the more things you're going to learn, and you're just going to be a better musician for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction to the bass clarinet. Like I said, I should have it coming for soprano clarinet, alto clarinet, contrabass clarinet, contralto clarinet, and possibly E-flat clarinet in the future. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment them below. Thanks, guys.